When the earthquake struck, my boyfriend's immediate reaction was to push me away, grab his true love's hand, and rush out the door, leaving me behind in the crumbling room. Later, I saw a photo of them holding hands during the earthquake. True love is when disaster strikes. You push everything aside and run towards me. I smirked. So I represented everything that needed to be pushed aside. Everyone who knew the situation was waiting to see how I, the official girlfriend, would react. I left a message. Don't forget to send me an invitation to your wedding. The aftershock subsided. I spent a week in the hospital. Today was the day I got discharged. A message came in from my boyfriend, Zach Redmond. Wait for me at the hospital, I'll come pick you up. I understood he was trying to make amends. When the earthquake struck, he had pushed me away, grabbed his true love, Claire Meadows, and fled, leaving me alone. Later, I saw a picture on Claire's social media of them holding hands in the safety corridor. The caption read, "True love is when disaster strikes. You push everything aside and run towards me." Apparently, I was the thing to be pushed aside. I left a cold message. Don't forget to send me an invitation to your wedding. Immediately, I called Zach to confront him. It took 8 calls before he finally answered. I've told you before I had a history with her, but now we're just friends. Can you stop being so petty? His accusation made me seem narrow-minded and unreasonable. After a pause, he asked, "Are you okay?" A day after the aftershock, and he finally remembered to ask. I didn't reply and hung up. We fell into a cold war. It had been a week now. In the past, whenever there was conflict, I was the one trying to break the ice. If he ever initiated reconciliation, I would be pleasantly surprised. But today, when he offered to pick me up from the hospital, I remained indifferent, casually responding with, "Okay." The hospital ward was tense after the aftershock. The nurses had already completed my discharge procedures, and I waited at the hospital entrance. I called him, but no one answered. The summer sun was scorching, making me anxious. In no time, my clothes were drenched in sweat, and my head was spinning from the heat. A taxi pulled over and asked if I needed a ride, but I declined. I still held on to a glimmer of hope that Zach would come. So I stood under the blazing sun for over 2 hours. For some inexplicable reason, I clicked on Claire's social media. Her latest post read, "Zach was worried I'd get heat stroke, so he thoughtfully drove me home." The picture showed Zach gripping the steering wheel, wearing our engagement ring on his hand. I liked the post. Zach couldn't be in 2 places at once, so I hailed a cab home by myself. It was already noon, and taxis were scarce. I waited for half an hour before finally managing to flag one down, nearly suffering from heat stroke. Zach and I worked at the same company. We started living together after getting engaged last year. By the time I got home, it was already 2 o'clock. Zach woke up from his nap and suddenly remembered he hadn't picked me up. When I opened the door, he was on his phone, changing his shoes. Upon seeing me, he hung up. "Why did you come back by yourself?" "I was just about to come get you." I smiled without saying a word. He glanced at me. "Since you're back on your own, I'll head to work." I still just smiled, saying nothing. I went to my room, drank some heat relief syrup, but still felt unwell. So I took a quick shower and went to bed. When I woke up, it was already past 6, and I felt much better. I hadn't eaten lunch, so I made a big dinner, just enough for one person. I was eating when Zach entered the room. He washed his hands, opened the pot, and found it empty. He stood there in silence. I had already finished eating, and was tidying up the table. The meal was delicious. I finished it all without wasting any. As I washed the dishes, he stood watching me for a long time without saying a word. When I finished, he left the kitchen looking annoyed and went to the study. I still felt weak, so I went back to bed. Throughout the night, Zach didn't return to the room. When I woke up, I saw the empty side of the bed and got up calmly. He was still asleep. I made breakfast for one person. By the time he woke up, I was already at the table. I kept my head down while eating, but I could feel his intense gaze. Even when he slammed the door and left, I didn't look up. After finishing breakfast and washing the dishes, I went to work. My colleagues knew I was injured in the earthquake, so they lightened my workload. My boss, Lisa, called me over. "Melody, have you thought about the overseas assignment?" The company planned to send Lisa to explore the market in Franconia, and she wanted me to go with her. She had mentioned it several times. It was a great opportunity, but I had always been concerned about Zach and didn't want a long-distance relationship. But now I nodded. "I've made up my mind. I'll go with you." Lisa patted my shoulder. "Great. With your help, we'll succeed for sure." At noon, Zach messaged me. "Why are you so temperamental all of a sudden?" I was confused and didn't understand what he meant, so I didn't reply and put my phone aside. When I didn't respond, he sent another message. "I haven't had lunch yet. Since we started living together, I always cooked for him, breakfast, dinner, and sometimes even packed his lunch. Even during our Cold Wars, I never forgot. But he always thought I was too controlling, sometimes throwing away the meals I made and ordering takeout instead. Didn't he think takeout tasted better? I simply replied, "I forgot. Order takeout for yourself." I silenced my phone and focused on eating. Later, he messaged me again. "Let's go home together tonight." I was stunned. Zach believed office romance was bad for his career, so no one at work knew about our relationship. We always commuted separately. But feeling unwell from the heat stroke, I didn't refuse. I waited in the underground parking lot for 40 minutes after work. No sign of his car. I called him 7 or 8 times, only a busy tone. so I stopped calling. 20 minutes later, he finally called me. Melody, what's going on? It's been an hour and you still haven't come out. I could imagine his expression, furrowed brows, lips pressed tight. Every time I saw him like that, I felt anxious, always apologizing first. But this time I said, I've been waiting in the underground parking lot for an hour, and you never showed up. He instinctively replied, How is that possible? I'm at the usual spot, gate 3. Mid-sentence he paused, then lowered his voice. I'll come pick you up now. I remained silent. There was no usual spot for Zach and me. Gate 3 was where Claire got off work. He wasn't avoiding an office romance. He was avoiding an office romance with me. I waited another half hour before his car finally arrived. The passenger window rolled down, revealing Claire's smiling face. Melody, sorry for keeping you waiting. I couldn't find a cab, so Zach picked me up first. You're not mad, right? I smiled, opened the backseat door, and got in. Not at all. Zach glanced at me through the rearview mirror, but said nothing. I had finally learned, his true love wasn't me. It wasn't until after finishing my work that I saw Zach had messaged me again. Let's go home together tonight. Zach believed that an office romance was bad for his career, so no one in the company knew about our relationship. To avoid suspicion, we almost always commuted separately. Still suffering from the aftereffects of heat stroke and feeling unwell, I didn't refuse. I waited in the underground parking lot for 40 minutes after work, but I didn't see his car. I called him 7 or 8 times, but all I got was a busy tone. So I decided not to call again. 20 minutes later, he called me. When I picked up, I heard his displeased voice. Melody, what's going on? It's been an hour, and you still haven't come out? Every time I saw him like that, I couldn't help but feel anxious, blaming myself for making him unhappy. Regardless of who was right or wrong, I would always apologize first. But this time, I looked around and said, I've been waiting in the underground parking lot for an hour and still haven't seen your car. He instinctively replied, How is that possible? I'm at the usual spot, gate 3. Mid-sentence, he snapped back to reality and lowered his voice. I'll come to pick you up right now. I remained silent for a moment and just said, There was no usual spot for Zach and me. Gate 3 was where Claire got off work. It turned out he wasn't avoiding an office romance. He was avoiding having an office romance with me. I waited another half hour in the underground parking lot until Zach's car finally arrived. The passenger seat window rolled down, revealing Claire's face with a sweet smile. Melody, sorry for keeping you waiting. I couldn't find a cab while shopping, so I had Zach pick me up first. You don't mind, do you? I smiled and opened the back seat, getting in. Not at all. Zach thought it was a bit much and explained. It's hotter outside than in the underground parking lot, so I went to pick her up first. I chuckled, it is quite hot outside. He glanced at me through the rearview mirror, noting my neutral expression, and stayed silent. Zach noticed my unusual behavior, knowing that in the past, whenever he neglected me for Claire, I would definitely react. I'd even act like a lunatic, constantly asking whether Claire was more important than me. He would always impatiently rebuke me. I've said it before, Claire and I are just normal friends now. Why do you keep harping on it? Can't I have my own life? After saying that, he would slam the door and leave me alone in the quiet room, tearful and self-reflective, wondering if I was truly being too petty. Was I really so petty and unwilling to let go? It was just that in this relationship, he had never given me any sense of security. As I was lost in memories, the sound of Claire munching on potato chips echoed in my mind. I instinctively glanced at the driver's seat. Zach didn't say anything. Melody, Claire leaned over the seat and offered me some. Have some. Zach suddenly spoke up. She doesn't eat them. Potato chip crumbs are hard to clean up in the car. Oh, Claire awkwardly said. Zach, sorry, I just dropped some crumbs too. Zach replied nonchalantly, It's okay, I'll clean it up. I quietly listened to their conversation, my thoughts inevitably drifting back to the past. Back when we first started living together, I was running late and didn't have time for breakfast, so I brought a pack of cookies into his car. Seeing me holding the cookies, he yelled at me to throw them in the trash. Throw them away. No eating in my car. I explained to him, I have low blood sugar and need to eat something. Don't worry, I'll be careful not to drop crumbs. But he didn't listen to my explanation and insisted that I throw them away. When I refused, he actually kicked me out of the car, then hit the gas, leaving me behind in the garage. It was snowing that day, and the weather was freezing. I struggled in high heels to reach the platform, waiting for over half an hour in the cold wind, nearly freezing solid before the bus arrived. I was inevitably late to the office. Lisa, considering the weather conditions, didn't scold me. While waiting for the bus, I almost fainted from low blood sugar, but fortunately, I didn't toss away the cookies. But now, I heard him casually telling another woman, It's okay, I'll clean it up. It turned out his principles varied from person to person, and I wasn't the one who could make him break his principles. Melody, it was Zach's parents' wedding anniversary the day before yesterday. Why didn't you attend the family banquet? Claire suddenly turned to me. I was engaged to Zach. I was familiar with his parents. I never expected that for his parents' wedding anniversary, Zach didn't take me but instead took Claire. I wondered how he introduced her to his parents. I was texting on my phone, not bothering to look up as I replied, I didn't know it was his parents' anniversary the day before yesterday. How could you not know? Didn't Zach tell you? Claire pressed. I raised my head, meeting Zach's gaze in the rearview mirror. I smiled casually and replied, The atmosphere in the car grew tense. Zach quietly averted his gaze. I smirked and closed my eyes. We dropped Claire off first. Now it was just Zach and me in the car. I pretended to doze off, staying silent throughout the ride. When we arrived at the garage, I opened my eyes, ready to leave. He suddenly spoke. You were still in the hospital the day before yesterday, so... I interrupted calmly as I got out. Yeah, the past is the past. It's not a big deal. What's the point of bringing it up again? His hand hesitated on the door handle, his eyes filled with disbelief. Those were the same words he used to say to me. Last month, my dad came on a business trip and wanted to see us. I asked Zach to have dinner with him, and he agreed. But when my dad arrived, Zach was at the hospital with Claire, who had a cold and needed 4 fluids. I called him, and he sounded annoyed. You have dinner with your dad. I can't just leave Claire alone. I was furious. Who is she to you? Do you have a responsibility toward her? She's my friend. Don't I have a responsibility as a friend? Can you stop acting like a shrew making a scene? His words hit me hard. At some point, I had become a nuisance in his eyes. I swallowed my frustration. So, is being with her more important than having dinner with my dad, your fiancé's father? He didn't answer. He simply hung up. That night, I forced a smile and told my dad Zach had urgent business. My dad sensed something was wrong but didn't push. After that, my parents stopped asking about Zach or urging us to marry. Later, Zach and I argued. He snapped. Having dinner with your dad isn't a big deal. What's past is past. What's the point of bringing it up again? I threw those same words back at him today, and now he knew how they felt. When we got home, I cooked for myself. He finally lost his patience grabbing my plate. What's the point of acting like this? I've already given you a way out. Can't you be sensible and stop making a scene? I stared at his fingers. Our engagement ring was gone, replaced by a different one. Noticing my gaze, he hesitated, then put the plate down, clenching his fists. I lost some weight, so the ring was loose. I took it off. But the mark looked bad, so Claire got me a new one today. I sneered. Do you know what a ring symbolizes? Annoyed, he said. It's just a ring. Why are you overthinking? I didn't know how long he planned to play dumb, but I no longer wanted to be part of this drama. Zach was shocked. You want to break up? I've put up with your tantrums for so long. What else do you want? I shook my head calmly. I'm not throwing tantrums. He scoffed. You're getting more unreasonable. Then he stormed out. I finished my meal, indifferent to his whereabouts. We were bound to part ways. That night, he came home drunk and lay beside me. I turned away, but he pulled me close. Too tired to resist, I let it be. In the morning, he made breakfast. I ate without a word. When I left for the bus stop, he grabbed his keys and followed. I didn't refuse a ride, but I sat in the back. His expression shifted. Melody, the front seat is empty. Why don't you sit there? I'm used to the back. When Claire said she got carsick, he insisted I give up the front seat. I was upset, but he called me petty. To avoid arguments, I always sat in the back. Now he wanted me to stop. I didn't want to argue, so I moved to the front. I stepped on a potato chip. One Claire had dropped yesterday. Zach noticed too. He started explaining. Claire has low blood sugar. If she doesn't eat, He stopped, remembering I had low blood sugar too. I acted indifferent. Low blood sugar needs food. You can eat in the car from now on. No, I don't like eating in the car anymore. He hesitated. Melody, Claire and I are over. We're just FR. I cut him off. Zach, I don't want to know. He paled. For the first time, there was fear in his eyes. Exhausted, I closed mine. I didn't notice that he drove straight to the company's underground parking lot. Before, he always dropped me off a block away to avoid being seen. I didn't know why he wasn't hiding now. But I didn't ask. I just got out. From that day on, he picked me up and dropped me off openly, as if something had changed. Zach had changed. He became more considerate, cooking and handling chores in his free time. His favorite task was organizing my closet. His sudden shift in temperament felt exhausting. I stopped resisting and treated him like a tidy roommate. It made things easier for me, but Zach's expression grew increasingly grim. He often looked at me as if he wanted to speak, but hesitated. On the way home from work, he kept glancing at me through the rearview mirror. I pretended not to notice and closed my eyes. Finally, he spoke. Melody, my parents have invited you to dinner this weekend. Without opening my eyes, I shook my head. No, I have to work overtime. I had already decided on the overseas assignment and needed to prepare documents for the handover. Zach didn't give up. His mother even called personally to invite me. Since I had no issues with his parents, I reluctantly agreed. That weekend, I went straight from the office to the restaurant. Zach's mother took my hand, apologizing. It's my fault. I should have called you personally instead of letting Zach convey the message. I smiled. It's all right. I've been busy. For someone planning a breakup, avoiding deeper contact was the best choice, but I didn't want to be rude. Zach's father chuckled. My wife was worried you'd be upset. She hasn't been sleeping well. I smiled but didn't respond. They continued chatting, avoiding any mention of Zach taking Claire to the last family banquet. Then, the door to the private room opened. Zach walked in, followed by Claire. Mr. and Mrs. Redmond, you're here early? Claire, sit down and have some juice. It's hot outside, Zach's mother said warmly. So, her warmth extended to everyone. Zach turned to me. Claire is alone in this city and doesn't have many friends. Since she knows my parents, I invited her. I smirked. It's nice to have a lively gathering. While we spoke, his mother was already holding Claire's hand. Claire, you've lost weight. There will be steamed base later, your favorite, so eat more. When the dishes arrived, there was indeed steamed base. Zach's mother served Claire, urging her to eat. Zach, however, stopped her. Mom, Claire is on her period. Base is cooling in nature, she should eat less. He remembered her cycle so clearly. Yet, after living with me for almost a year, he never knew mine. Without a word, I set aside the crab meat he served me. I was exhausted. Menstrual cramps had kept me up until midnight, and I couldn't eat something cold. Claire blushed and complained. Zach, can you not talk about that? I'm a girl. His mother chimed in. Exactly, Zach, don't be so blunt. His father chuckled. Watching them, I felt out of place. They were close, like a real family. But it also eased my guilt. Zach's parents' kindness toward me was just an extension of their son's feelings. And Zach liked Claire more than he liked me. The date for my overseas assignment was approaching. Before leaving, I visited my hometown to inform my parents. They were upset that their only daughter would be so far away. I reassured them I'd return in a few years. That calmed them. My father even contacted an old comrade, Tom River, whose son, Ryan, was in Franconia and would soon visit home. He asked Ryan to look after me. Though I didn't need a guardian, I accepted their concern and agreed to meet Ryan. As kids, we played together often, but life took us in different directions. Now, he was witty and insightful. When discussing Franconia's food, he suggested I bring chili sauce from home. Our conversation eased my parents' worries. We arranged everything, and not once was Zach mentioned. I stayed home for 2 days. Zach called incessantly, up to 18 times a day. I told him to stop. He sulked, complaining that I didn't care about him. Funny. When he was on a business trip, he found my calls annoying, claiming I was disturbing his work. Now that the roles were reversed, he felt aggrieved. So I followed his lead. I blocked his number. I was surprised. He already knew what had happened. Who is he? Is it because of him that we broke up? I knew it. Why have you been so cold to me lately? Is he so great that you would abandon me for him? Melody, I need an explanation. I replied, just a regular friend. After answering, I deleted his contact and soon fell asleep. In the morning, my mom woke me, saying Zach had called her early, asking her to persuade me to remove him from the blacklist. She hadn't slept well, and I didn't want him bothering her again, so I unblocked him. The moment I did, he called. It was as if he had been waiting by his phone. He was always busy. Even when I called, I had to try multiple times. But now, his voice was unusually humble. He apologized profusely, then asked when I was coming back, offering to pick me up. Just hearing that gave me a headache. I was afraid he might actually show up, so I firmly refused. Yet, when I stepped off the high-speed train, I saw him at the exit, holding fresh flowers. I stopped in my tracks. His shirt was wrinkled, his tie missing. He looked exhausted, furrowed brows, bloodshot eyes. He hadn't slept all night. But when he saw me, his face lit up with a familiar smile. He strode toward me, just like in the early days of our love, and tried to hug me before offering the flowers. I didn't take them. Looking at him, his eyes locked only on me, I felt an indescribable sadness. Maybe it was for the Melody left behind during the earthquake. Maybe for the Melody who had to give up the front passenger seat. Or maybe for the Melody who loved him wholeheartedly, only to have her heart shattered beyond repair. Melody, I've come to take you home. He pushed the flowers into my hands, his voice unusually tender. I couldn't remember the last time he had said my name like that before our breakup. I said nothing. He didn't need me to. Melody, let's look at wedding dresses and set a date when we get back, okay? He spoke so earnestly, so seriously that I almost doubted myself. Almost believed the Zach who had pushed me away during the earthquake, the one who left with Claire, was just a figment of my imagination. But it was too late. A shattered heart, even if pieced back together, would always bear its scars. I handed the flowers back to him, shaking my head. Zach, we've broken up. Please leave. Melody, I don't agree to break up. Claire and I are just friends. He raised his hand. Look, I've taken off the ring she gave me, and I'm wearing our engagement ring. His eyes turned red, his voice trembling slightly. He placed his hand in front of me, proudly displaying the ring. But I've already thrown it away, I said. His expression stiffened, but he immediately knelt on one knee, pulling a box from his pocket. Looking up at me, he said, It doesn't matter. I've prepared wedding rings. My dear Melody, will you marry me? His eyes were full of hope, anxiously watching my reaction. Looking at him, I felt a twinge of sadness, not for him, but for the version of myself that had once loved him so deeply. After our engagement, I had brought up marriage several times, but he always had excuses. If he had proposed back then, I would have been overjoyed. But now, I just found it laughable. In the bustling subway station, people stopped to watch. Some even clapped and cheered, thinking this was a grand romantic gesture. Little did they know it was just another choice in a love triangle. I didn't take the ring or accept his proposal, but I did agree to go home with him instead of to the hotel I had booked. We needed an honest conversation. After all, we had been engaged, and we worked at the same company. It was better not to part on bad terms. He had prepared everything carefully, booking a candlelit dinner at a revolving restaurant. Only now did I realize he could be romantic. As the last dish, steamed base, was served, his phone rang. He glanced at it and hung up. Wrong number, he said with a forced smile. The ringtone sounded again immediately. His smile grew strained as he hesitated. Don't mind me. Answer if you want, I said. He sighed awkwardly but answered. Claire's voice was weak and panicked. Zach, I have heat stroke. I feel terrible. Don't move. I'll be right there. He hung up and stood. Eat first. I'll come back for you later. Before he even finished speaking, he was already running out. I picked up my fork and took a bite of the base. A faint fishy taste hit my palate, making my stomach churn. I drank a large gulp of tea to suppress the nausea. I looked over the dishes on the table. Not a single one was something I liked. They were all Claire's favorites. In the past, I would have forced myself to eat. Not anymore. I asked the waiter to clear the table and ordered food I actually wanted. After finishing, I didn't wait for Zach to come back. I took a taxi to my hotel. After washing up, I checked Claire's social media. As expected, she had posted an update. She was receiving in 4 drip, someone feeding her water. The caption read, "Having you here is wonderful." Only one hand of the person feeding her was visible, but I recognized the ring on his finger. I thought for a moment and sent Zach a message, the restaurant bill. I couldn't let him host and pay for it myself. I hadn't minded before because I was his girlfriend. Now that we had broken up, there was no reason for me to pay. He transferred the money instantly. At 10:20 a.m., he sent another message. Wait for me at home. I didn't reply. I turned off my phone and went to sleep. I knew the truth. Neither of us would be going home that night. The next morning, I received a call from Zach while waiting for a car by the roadside. His voice was tired and hoarse. Where are you? Why aren't you home? The air conditioning at Claire's place broke, and she got heat stroke. I took her to the hospital, then fixed the AC. I was busy until dawn. You must be tired. Melody, I'm sorry. I should have told you yesterday and let you take a taxi home. Did you wait long? I didn't wait. I took a taxi after eating. He paused, his tone bitter. Melody, it's my fault. A car stopped in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing Ryan. Melody, going to the company? Get in, I'll take you. I checked the time. If I waited any longer, I might be late. I got in, realizing my phone call was still ongoing. Zach was silent. I hung up without saying goodbye. At work, I handed over my tasks. At noon, a delivery arrived. I hadn't ordered anything. Zach had. The food was good, but not what I liked. I ordered something else. Zach called. How was the food? It wasn't what I liked, so I threw it away. He was silent. What do you like? I'll cook for you tonight. No need. I have plans. With whom? Can I join? A friend you don't know. It'd be awkward. Is it a man or a woman? I'm your boyfriend. Why would it be awkward? I got impatient. Why do you always need control? Aren't you tired? We both froze. The words were familiar. Once, when he had dinner plans with Claire, I had asked if it was a man or a woman. He got upset. When I asked to join, he scolded me with these same words. Later, I overheard him tell Claire I was clingy, controlling, and that he regretted our engagement. Now, fate had reversed our roles. Zach spoke first, his voice gentle. Okay, I won't come. Come home early, I'll wait for you. The takeout arrived. I hung up before he finished. Dinner with Ryan was at a private kitchen. On my way to the restroom, I ran into Zach. I had forgotten he had brought me here before. If he could bring me, he could bring others too. What a coincidence. You're here too. He looked surprised, almost happy. Before I could reply, Ryan stepped out. Melody, your mom called me. She couldn't reach you. Zach's face darkened. Ryan, unaware of the tension, asked, Who is this? A colleague from work. Zach looked hurt. Before he could speak, the door of another private room opened. Claire stepped out. Zach, the soup is getting cold. She stopped upon seeing me, then smiled sweetly. Melody, you're here too? Let's join tables. I suddenly wanted to laugh. Good thing I had introduced Zach as a colleague. Otherwise, wouldn't I have had to explain his relationship with Claire? The first time I caught them together, Zach introduced me the same way, just a work colleague. Even though we were engaged. Later, I heard him tell Claire, We're not that close. Ryan declined her invitation politely. Claire, used to admiration, flushed with embarrassment. I felt secretly pleased. Ignoring Zach's hurt expression, I returned to my table. A message popped up from him. Let's go home together after dinner. I replied, No thanks. Someone's giving me a ride. He responded instantly. Let's go together. I ignored him. After dinner, Ryan drove me back to the hotel. As soon as I entered, Zach called. Melody, where are you? I finished early and came back. You finished early? Why didn't you tell me? Didn't I say we'd go home together? I told you someone was giving me a ride. I didn't ask you to wait. He was frustrated. But I said we'd go together. I never agreed. He had no response. Well, go to sleep. I'll be home soon. I hung up, amused. In the past, when he went out drinking, I waited at the entrance, afraid to call and disturb him. Now, he was the one waiting anxiously for me. I shook off the thought, turned off my phone, and went to sleep. The next morning, I turned it on and saw 69 missed calls from Zach. He called again. I didn't answer. He kept calling. I put it on silent. At the hotel entrance, Ryan was waiting. We headed to the airport together. As we boarded, I finally answered Zach's call. Melody, you didn't come home last night. Where did you go? Why did you turn off your phone? Don't you know how worried I was? Zach, let me remind you once more. We've broken up. We don't have a home together anymore. Don't call me again. I don't agree to break up. We were supposed to get married. I chuckled. And yet, on the day of the proposal, You left me alone at a couple's restaurant and spent the night with someone else. Melody, are you still angry about Claire? I've told you she's just a friend, a colleague. Nothing ever happened between us. Does it have to involve sex to count as cheating? Zach, you should know emotional cheating exists too, and I can't accept it. My tone was bitter. I went to your department looking for you. They said you've been transferred overseas. So you've really given up on me, haven't you? I didn't speak. Melody, can you give me one more chance? I promise you'll be the only one I love. So he did know where he went wrong. He had just been playing dumb all along. I laughed lightly. You can't do it, and I no longer trust you. His voice cracked. Melody, I'm sorry. I've broken your trust again and again. I don't care anymore. I don't love you anymore. He understood my unspoken meaning. His sobs grew louder. I'll wait for you to come back, to change your mind, to pick me up again. Don't bother. I won't take you back in this lifetime. I hung up, took out my SIM card, broke it, and tossed it in the trash, throwing away the past along with it. In a foreign country, I worked hard on weekdays to expand our business, and on weekends I explored beautiful places. The passionate and carefree days submerged me. I wouldn't deliberately forget, but I wouldn't hold on either. 3 years later, Ryan and I got together. 3 months after that, I got pregnant. To fit into a beautiful wedding dress, we returned home for the wedding. Fortunately, Ryan had already prepared everything with his family, so it didn't feel rushed. On my wedding day, I saw Zach. The sunlight stretched his shadow, making him look inexplicably lonely. He didn't approach, just watched me from afar, his gaze gentle. I didn't approach either. I simply nodded with a smile. Then, I let Ryan hold my hand as we walked through the floral arch toward a brilliant future. Watching the woman he loved walk away, Zach finally understood. He had lost me the day I boarded the plane to Franconia. In those 3 years, he had cut ties with Claire and flown to Franconia more than 10 times, wanting to win me back. But seeing how radiant I was without him, he didn't dare appear. After I left, my smile became dazzling, captivating him from afar. He watched as I grew, as I became closer to Ryan. When I fell ill, Ryan stayed with me all night at the hospital. That was when Zach finally understood what it felt like to be the one waiting. Back then, Ryan and I had still been just friends. Zach thought maintaining physical purity equaled loyalty, but emotional betrayal hurt just as much. Just like how I had never crossed a physical line with Ryan, yet Zach had been consumed by jealousy. He had always thought he held the dominant position in our relationship, that he had the upper hand. But when I gave up on him, he finally realized he was the one who couldn't let go. I had been the string holding our kite, and when that string broke, the kite lost its direction. He could never go back. Zach left my wedding early. He left behind a box. Inside, along with the engagement ring, was a card. The handwriting was Zach's. Melody, I will keep waiting until you pick me up. Ryan, standing beside me, read it too. He smiled, pulled me close, avoiding my belly, and kissed me deeply. Poor guy, he murmured. He'll be waiting forever. The next morning, the ring box was gone. I smiled, knowing Ryan wouldn't let it sit in front of me. And I didn't care where it was. In the trash. In the dumpster. The past had already drifted away, like a boat fading into the horizon.